Hello, everyone. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe. Click on that notification bell. Like, dislike. Let us know what you're thinking. You could also follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, today, on the Angel of Words podcast, we have musician Ivan Banjo Fontanez on deck on the Angel of Words podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Angel of Words podcast. And today I have musician Ivan Banjo Fontanez joining us all the way from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mr. Fontanez, thank you for joining the Angel of Words podcast today, sir. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing fine. Thank you for contacting me and everything.
Well, I wish I was contacting you during some better times, during better social social and economic climates. But we really appreciate you being on the program today, and you are in Minneapolis right now, the epicenter of where everything started. I just want for you to let us know your thoughts on the George Floyd situation and the tone of Minnesota right now.
Yes. I'm going to start by giving you a little context of how I end up here and what do I do here. I'm a musician. And I do, marketing and advertising and also an activist, so I kind of wear a lot of hats. I lived here as a teenager, early 20s, moved to Puerto Rico for 10 years, and then moved back here about 2.5 years ago after Hurricane Maria. In Puerto Rico, I participated in a couple of movements, with the UPR and Fuera la Marina and different actions and movements that happened there. So when I moved here, I wanted to keep that part of me going, and I joined a group called Puerto Ricans in Minnesota Committee, which is a political action group. It's been going on for over 20 years, and I'm one of the youngest members. And we as part of that committee, our meetings are at a place called Conga Latin Bistro, which is like the there it's where George worked as security. So even though I wasn't a personal friend, I wouldn't say he was an acquaintance. I'd seen him a couple times. Hey, how you doing? He's the guy who works here, and someone you get to see often. So this happened last Monday. It's when he was killed by the cops, and right away people, took to the streets. I was on the site the day after there was some march and protest. The next day, Wednesday, I was at the precinct where the vandalism and everything started. I was actually there. I saw the guy that started it all, which turned out to be an undercover police cop for the city of St. Paul, from the city of St. Paul. I wouldn't say he was working for the police, but he's definitely a policeman for the city of St. Paul. That's when, first fire started. Next day, there was more marches, and I've been covering these events more as an independent journalist kind of deal. I haven't been personally involved in the marches as a protester, more as, bringing the information, especially to the people in Puerto Rico and the people on my social media, to bring them a firsthand kind of account of events. Because I do know that information gets manipulated and skewed to affect particular interests. Everybody has different interests, and everybody kind of twists and turns. So I like to be presented with objective information that I could just then come to my own conclusions, and I like to bring that to people. That being said, Minnesota reacted really quickly. Like I said, the very next day after this went viral, the images, and it was actually on live video, Minnesota acted real quick. People took to the streets. The Black Lives Matter movement kind of took the forefront of this because it's not the first time that this kind of incident has happened in Minnesota. It wasn't the first time that this particular police officer had done anything like this.
Yeah.
Citizens were very quick to withdraw in that sense. There's a lot of indignación, people called it out real quick, and the whole thing snowballed into what we see today worldwide, turned into a worldwide.
And you say that you knew Mr. Floyd in passing. You said he didn't come off as a violent individual, correct?
Pardon me, say that again.
You said you knew Mr. George Floyd in passing, the gentleman that passed away.
I had
in
met
passing.
him. I wouldn't
You
say I
had met him.
knew him, but I had met him a couple times.
Okay. And he didn't come off as a person that was violent or anything of that nature.
No.
You say okay. And then you're telling us that there was I guess private cops involved in the arson of the police station over there in Minnesota. It wasn't rioters.
So the first on Wednesday there was a gathering in front of the precinct, the third precinct, police station, which is where this particular cop was assigned to. And there was animosity. The cops were on top of the police station shooting, the rubber bullets and the tear gas. Across the street, there's a strip mall. On that strip mall is where you see the Target and the Cup Food and all these, which are two grocery stores, and that was kind of the epicenter of the riot. Across the street, and in that mall, there is a AutoZone. And one guy dressed in all black with an umbrella and a full-on like riot gas mask was starting to smash the windows of that particular establishment just across the street. Protesters go to him and try to stop him and drive him away, but once those glasses break, it kind of just people's energy just kind of riles up, and that's the first building that gets burned after this guy had smashed the windows. Over the course of the rest of the days, his ex-wife comes forward to say, that's him. I know him because of the way he walks and the mask he's wearing is mine. That's definitely him. And some research turned out to point that he's a St. Paul police officer.
Wow. Now, in New York City, I felt like it took a little while longer than I expected for the Spanish community to get involved, and what's going on. Did you see that same type of energy out there in Minnesota when this went down, or is there because there is a population of Spanish people, I would imagine, out there.
Yeah. There's a great Mexican community. It's the largest community. There's a Dominican and Puerto Rican and from other countries as well. So of two factors. First, Floyd worked at Conga, which is, like I said, the Caribbean food place. That's where we have the salsa nights, and that's where. So the Latin community knew this guy as the bouncer of the club. And I mean, you've gone out to clubs. Once you frequent a club, you get to know the person. You've seen him. It's someone you see all the time. And he also worked security at another club called El Rodeo, which is a bigger venue that it's not there anymore. It burned to the ground. Where the reggaeton shows and the big salsa shows. So 3,000 people club, larger kind of club. He also worked there. Also in that building where the club was housed one of the Latino stations, the Mexican stations. So he definitely had a closeness to the Latino community. Fun fact, the officer that killed George worked with him at that second club I mentioned.
Wow.
So,
wow.
This story, it just keeps getting weirder and weirder, and so many twists and turns and intertwines that it's movie-like, man.
Now, Banjo, what have you how do you feel about the Spanish news media's coverage of this whole situation? Because I feel like they really haven't been I feel like they've been implicit in not covering things accurately, to say the least.
So I haven't followed too closely the Latino media, and here, the Latin media. Nationally, there's Telemundo and Univision. Locally, there is some different outlets, some small news or radio stations. For here, which is the ones I could talk about, they have been very active. I've seen colleagues, a lot of the colleagues present in every single demonstration from the beginning. What are they saying? What is their perspective? What are they highlighting? I wouldn't be able to tell. I don't think I'm in a position to make those judgments. But that is precisely why I decided to go there also myself, to just kind of bring the information as it was unfolding and for it to be available to people to make their own judgments.
Okay. Now, you've been a musician, for quite a little bit of time. And, have you noticed that music playing a role in helping to, not desensitize, but helping to soothe people's souls out there in Minnesota? Has music played any role in this?
Fuck the Police has been the national anthem in Minnesota for the past week. That's all I can say. It's everywhere. There's everywhere you go. There's cars. There's people on their bikes. There, it's "Fuck the Police" by NWA all the way. There's been some drum circles by the Native American community, and it's not drum circles, but they do incorporate some drumming into their chants and their ceremonies, which have been really, really present in all of this. The Native American community has been very active in this whole thing. I wouldn't say it's been, for example, like in Puerto Rico, where you have your pleneros and your bomberos everywhere at every march. They're always there. That's kind of how we move the chants.
Movement.
Yeah, here it's not the same. A lot of hip hop and blasting, but I want to say it's been there, but it hasn't been a protagonist in these manifestaciones like in Puerto Rico, where Plena is in the front. It drives the music. That particular, I haven't seen something like that.
Now, what do you have to say about like the looting and stuff like that? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's been a big deal in the media right now. Have you seen any looting? Has it subsided? What's going on in Minnesota when it comes to that situation?
So aside from what I mentioned to you of when it started, I had to leave that day. I come home to my family at night. I don't like to leave them alone, especially in this situation. So what I've seen of the looting and stuff has been from social media. Again, I wouldn't pass a judgment because I wasn't there. But I've seen the movement and the protesters have been peaceful. I think there is always people that take advantage of these situations to either blame the black community and make them look as the perpetrators and make them look bad and take credibility away from the movement. There is people that have their own agendas and also, they kind of hide with the protesters to do their bidding. There's some people that just straight up like chaos and don't give a damn. They just want to see stuff breaks and that's always seen as well in different protests. So for what I've seen, it's been peaceful people doing these things, definitely.
Now, we would also like to know. Yeah. Sorry about that. You broke up a little bit. Now, Ivan, we would like to know why they call you Banjo, man. Get a little bit into that situation. If you don't mind us switching gears there on you a little bit,
No problem. So you're Puerto Rican, correct?
Yes, I am.
So you know how abuelitas give you the weirdest nicknames. You
They call me
know,
Chito, so I get it. Yeah.
exactly. So it's kind of like that. Like, how does an
Yeah.
ángel say, well, ángel, angelito, angelito, chichito, chito? So mine
Yeah.
is Ivan. So Ivan, Ivancito, Ivanjito, Vanjito, Banjo, Banjo. And I just kind of stuck to me, and I've liked that name since I was a
I
kid.
thought.
And
No, go ahead. I thought it was because you played instruments. I
there,
thought it
that's
came
what
from
I was
there, but
going to
it's crazy.
clarify. So a lot of people ask me,
All
oh, so yeah, it makes sense. You're a musician, you play banjo. It's like, well, actually, I learned to play some banjo because I was told banjo already.
Okay. That's
I
awesome,
do,
man.
you know, I play guitar and I'm a singer-songwriter. I play plena and bomba mostly, and you know, do some hip hop as well. So the banjo came after, and just messed about it. Was,
No, and I go ahead. No, go ahead.
oh no, I
No, I was
just
gonna.
dropped something.
Okay, no, I was gonna say I love the fact that you play bomba y plena, and that and we are still keeping that wave alive. Because if we don't with all this electronic music and things being done digitally, you can lose your culture. You know what I'm saying? Like that. If you're not playing these live instruments. And I would like to thank you for keeping that wave alive. I mean, what influences you and what makes you want to keep that going?
Well, man, like I said, I started I think at 11 years old. I had a teacher at school in Puerto Rico be like, hey, let's play night. Okay. And, he started us. So parents got me my first pandereta, and being from Puerto Rico, being for the liberation of Puerto Rico and kind of identifying with the independence movement, it goes hand in hand, So it just stayed around. And then when I moved here to Minnesota for the first time, I joined a Puerto Rican cultural center, and they had a bomba group for teenagers called Raíces, and we performed, and I kind of stuck to that and went to Puerto Rico and started, getting in touch with the community and joining, and, went to Plenazos in New York, and I've been around. It's, it's a means of expression. It always has, and it's a means of partying and having a great time, and I'm very proud of my culture. So made it an issue to stay close to that. And I participate in a group here called Plena Sota.
Now, I saw that you just mentioned that you part of the Puerto Rican, you want to be part of the Puerto Rican liberation. You do have a background in political science. Could you explain your feelings to us on the state of affairs of Puerto Rico right now and the overthrowing peacefully, might I add, of Ricardo Rosselló, which was a great accomplishment because he did have to be thrown out of there because of that kind of bigotry that he was expressing. And could you describe, why that is so important, nationalism?
Well, I think out of principle, I believe in self-determination of countries. Don't believe in colonialism. I think it should end. It's just a matter of principle. I'm not anti-American by any means, but I am pro-Puerto Rican. You can, when people come of age, they leave their home. Doesn't mean they hate their parents. Means that it's time for go out and try it on your own. And after, studying and school and life and reading and educating myself, I realized something very simple, that what is needed for Puerto Rico to become a state, it's the same that it's needed for Puerto Rico to become an independent nation. And if we want to go in that direction, then just might as well do it on our own and have more control of our finances, of our diplomatic relations, of who we do trade with, and how we work our land and repartimos los recursos, or how we administer the resources. It should be our own decision, It's not mutually exclusive to love Puerto Rico and having respect for the United States. That can happen. And in terms of what happened in Puerto Rico last summer, I was very, very proud, because we, and by we mean the people that believe in this kind of justice, whether it's, social or political, I've always been taught that these demonstrations and these methods don't work. But, I marched with 100,000 people to get Marina out of Vieques, and it worked. I was here when that particular summer happened, but years and years prior to that, the 1st of May's and the UPR and a lot of other times I was, and people that I respected a lot personally, intellectually, and it was very moving to see it work. It was very moving to get that win, to believe in something, and after trying and having all the indications that it was a waste of time, then you finally get it, and it's like, this is why we fight for.
And it's important for me. I'd never lived in Puerto Rico, but my mother she was a leader in the independent movement out there. She's always told me to stay away from politics, don't do it at all. I try not to listen to her, so I became a journalist.
We always, best way to get a kid to do something, say no.
But I haven't ran for politics yet, and I always find it disconcerting because, I always feel like, how is it that you're going to develop a country or develop a culture of wanting to develop economic independence when there is no incentive out there in Puerto Rico, when a tomato that made in Puerto Rico costs twice as much as a tomato coming in from another place? And a lot of people don't really understand that dynamic in Puerto Rico. And I would just like for you to explain to them really what the economic situation is out there, if you could, from your experiences.
Okay, so I'm not the most indicated guy there to talk about this from a economic standpoint. I'm not an economist. From my understanding, Jones Act, man, it's strangling Puerto Rico economically. And it's not just more that it's not so much as that it's more expensive to get a tomato from there than that comes from the outside. But sometimes that tomato goes out before coming back in. And it happens with a lot of things, like medicines. Puerto Rico has a bunch of pharmaceutical companies that are made there, but things go out and come back, and because of the Jones Act and the cabotage laws, we don't get to do our own trade with other nations, and things need to go through U.S. ports in order before they get Puerto Rico, so that increases the price. It's the same thing that happens with Alaska and Hawaii, that it's something coming from China, it can't stop in Hawaii and then keep going and to go to California and then be sent out. So that increases all the tariffs and the so that does strangle the economic power that these territories and states have. Like I said, I'm not the most qualified guy to talk on this subject, but as to my understanding, it's definitely harming us. It's limiting our potential to take care of our affairs and set them in order. So yeah.
No, I appreciate you being as I appreciate you being as candid as you can about the situation. And I noticed there's a lot of those overtones, political overtones in your music. And I was enjoying, some of the music that I was listening to, and it's very eccentric. It's unique. It has that like a universality of it. Your music. Could you discuss a little bit of why you chose to go that route with your music? Because there's hip hop influence, there's punk rock influence, there's there's Caribbean vibe influences in there. The bomba plena. You could tell that it's like a well-rounded form of music. So could you really discuss why you?
It's my music. It's my voice, man. I started doing music at like I said, plena was the very first thing I started doing, but I didn't see it as a thing for me until high school. I started playing guitar and kind of stuck to it. I saw I was good. I had been writing poetry for a long time, and that activism and that patriotism came before from a very early age. So it was just a matter of putting two and two together. I decided to become an artist because I thought it was going to be easy to, get a hit, become number one in 2 years, be a millionaire, and didn't have to do shit for the rest of my life. And after time, I saw how actually hard it was, but I committed to it, and I used it. I've always used it to kind of equalize my head and get my feelings out and get hurt. I say that's my therapist. My music is my therapist. So my passions are there, something I can't avoid or kind of just put to the side. And so I decided to use my music to bring out those passions, including my political, social views, and yeah, I always, with time, I try to focus more on the positive side of things, on happiness, on the si se puedes, on the you can't do it, and but yeah, there's always that political undertone is always there, because when things happen like right now, that's where I go to first, to my notebook, bit with some flow or writing a melody and putting some chords.
No, and we appreciate that. Now, is there a message that you would like to give, to the Latino community right now that is really doesn't understand the gravity of the situation right now, in terms of like the socio-economic, political state of America right now?
Unity, man. Unity. We need to stand together to be strong. We're facing a lot of different powers that we can't begin to fathom the size, the magnitude, and how powerful they are. The only thing we have is the numbers, and only by uniting and unifying our efforts is the way to have a positive outcome that works in our favor. If people are making decisions and they don't know what way to go, if one of the ways that you're presented with separates everybody and the other one unites them, go for that one. Go for the one that unites. Being respectful, being conscious, being strategic, but if it's divisive, maybe it's not the best way. And don't confuse me with saying, well, protesting the government is divisive. No, that is facing the power structure, the oppression. Now, when it comes to that being said, when it comes to the people, if there's a strategy that's just Puerto Ricans only and there's an all Latinos, let's go for all Latinos. If there's one that is blacks only and there's one that's blacks, Latinos, and whites, and then go for that one. That one is the one that needs to support, because strategically, that is the one that's going to have the potential for the most effect. I think once we solve that greater issue, then we can compartmentalize. And divide into smaller issues. But there's a bigger fight that needs to be fought. There's a bigger issues that need to be solved right now, before we can get too specific. We need to feed everybody first before we start saying, mine's too salty or mine's too sweet. Let's get food to everybody, then we'll work on condiments. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I see it, and that's my motto of life and how I approach situations.
Now, how do you think we can go about getting food to everybody? Like, how do we start breaking down these systems? This is kind of your area of expertise, a little political science.
Aside from
like what
arts and music, which are
yeah.
Mention food. Okay, let's go there. Everybody that has a lawn should turn it into an orchard.
Okay.
We need to. Food supply should be. We don't need it industrialized. We need it localized. Definitely. Everybody needs to, or needs to, not should. The shoulds are arbitrary for different people. We need to be able to feed ourselves and not depend on the industrial complex. And when I've done some agriculture, and something that very wise guy told me is like, when you cultivate food, you need to cultivate for three: for you, for the community, and for waste. There's always when you're cultivando, there's always stuff that goes to waste because of plagues or it's just so bad or whatever. So you need to account for the three needs: for yourself or your family, for your community, and for what goes to waste. And when you deal with agriculture, you grow your stuff, and there's always surplus. There's always stuff that if you don't use it in the next 2 days, it's gonna spoil. So you don't want to eat tomato 7 times a day for every meal. So you give to your neighbor, and that replicates. Nature is very balanced. Nature works perfectly, and if we follow the paths and the systems that nature has, we'll be okay. There's enough of everything in this planet to go around, and not just to give enough, but for everybody to live in total abundance. So let's follow. I think nature, it's 4 million years in the making. I think it has it figured out better than Western society. That like 200 years. That's just me. That's what I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And, I just want to say thank you so much. Let us know where we can catch your music at. Where can we find you if you're in the Minneapolis area? Where will you be playing when social distancing is over? Are you doing anything online and taking Cash App money? What's going on with the with Mr. Banjo musically? How can we get to you?
Wow. Social media, cloud, like the instrument Banjo PR. You'll find some of my music I've done that I'll be releasing this year of my stuff. There's also a band that I participate in called the 123 Balloons, and that's balloons with a Z at the end. Also, every social media we're working on a record for that, and it's a children's music band. Plena Sota, that's Plena in Minnesota. You can find us plenasota.com and on Facebook, and that's our Plena group. And Pan Latino Fest, it's a Latino festival that I'm working on. And yeah, just look for Banjo PR and stuff, and you'll find out. I'm like I said, I juggle many things at once. I wear many hats, so yeah, I'm always putting stuff out there, some form or another.
Well, Mr. Fontanez, thank you for joining the Angel of Words podcast today. We really appreciate your time and juggling us in your schedule. We look forward to seeing what you're going to be up to out in Minnesota, and we wish you all the best over here from the program. And again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Much respect to you. It's been very comforting and fruitful talking to you. You have a friend outside that knowing you the way I know we met, which is, that's better enough. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for the people that listen and lend their ears, and yeah, let's keep it going.
Muchas gracias, mi hermano. Cuídate. Be good. All right. Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my interview today with musician and political activist Ivan Banjo Fontanez. And folks, please click on that notification bell. Keep following us on YouTube. Remember, you can also catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to see what I'm up to on my social media platforms, follow me at Angel of Words ENT, all one word. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Talk to you later.